It is a pleasure to give this presentation with a short briefing on the outcome of the 10th meeting of the Chemical Review Committee. As you know, the 10th meeting of the Chemical Review Committee took place from the 22nd to the 24th of October 2014, and pre-meetings were organized on 21st October for the intersessional task groups. You can find more information on this meeting on the CRC10 website that you find in the slide. The POPRC10 meeting took place from the 27th to the 30th of October 2014, and pre-meetings of the intersessional working groups took place on the 26th of October. Also, as for the CRC10, you can find information on the POPRC10 website. That is, the address is here on the slide. The venue of these two meetings was the FAO headquarters in Rome. And the meetings on purpose were held back to back. So the Bureau of the CRC10 included the interim chair, the chair that will be confirmed at the next COP, Mr. Jürgen Albig from Spain, and the vice chairs, Mr. Boniface Mbebe from Zambia, Ms. Amal Al-Rashad from Kuwait, Ms. Madalena Fridic from Poland, and Mr. Gilberto Filman from Brazil. The POPRC10 Bureau included the chair, also the interim chair. The chair will be confirmed at the next COP, Mr. Stefania Moreira from Brazil, and the vice chair, Mr. Azari Abdelbaji from Sudan. So the CRC10 adopted two draft decision guidance documents and forwarded them to COP7 for consideration of listing in Annex 3 to the Convention a pesticide, metamidophos, and a severely hazardous pesticide formulation, Fenthion 640 ULV. In addition, CRC10 reviewed notifications of final regulatory action for 3 industrial chemicals, and these chemicals are polychlorinated naphthalenes, short-chain chlorinated paraffins, and tributyltin compounds, and concluded the following. For polychlorinated naphthalenes, the notification submitted by Canada met all the criteria in Annex 2, so the CRC adopted the rationale for this notification of final regulatory action. But the notification submitted by Japan did not meet the criteria in Annex 2, paragraph B. And this is a criteria that requires that the final regulatory action has been taken as a consequence of risk evaluation, and that this risk evaluation is based on a review of scientific data in the context of the conditions prevailing in the party in question. So this criteria was not met. So there was no further action on this chemical. On short-chain chlorinated paraffins, notifications submitted by Norway and Canada met all the criteria in Annex 2. The rationale for these two notifications was adopted, and therefore, since the CRC had under its consideration 2 notifications from 2 different peak regions, the CRC, which fulfilled all the criteria, the CRC recommended listing short-chain chlorinated paraffins in Annex 3 to the Convention, and established an intersessional drafting group to prepare the draft decision guidance document on these chemicals. On tributyltin compound, the notification submitted by Canada met all the criteria in Annex 2, and the rationale for this notification and this chemical was adopted. Taking into account the notifications previously submitted by the European Union and Canada on tributyltin compounds in the pesticide category met all the criteria in Annex 2, the committee recommended listing tributyltin compounds in Annex 3 of the Convention in the industrial chemicals category, and established an intersessional drafting group to revise the existing decision guidance document on tributyltin compounds to include the information relevant to the industrial chemicals category. So in summary, the chemicals recommended for inclusion in Annex 3 at COP7 will be trichlorphone, a pesticide which was recommended by CRC10, metamidophos, fentanyl 640 ULV, but also two chemicals that were considered previously at COP6 and that will be reconsidered at COP7, chrysotyl, asbestos, and paraquat. This concludes my presentation on the outcome of the CRC10. I now pass the floor to Mario Iarto to continue with the presentation on the outcome of the POPRC10.
Thank you, Francesca. Good morning or good evening to everyone. I'm happy to be here and brief you on the outcomes of the 10th meeting of the POPs Review Committee, which also took place in Rome at the end of October. There were a number of issues on the discussion for the committee. I will give you a summary of the outcomes of those discussions, and in the next few weeks you will be able to access the full report of the meeting. For pentachlorophenol, its salts and esters, the committee adopted the risk management evaluation that was prepared during the intersessional period 2013-2014. With that adoption, the committee recommended for the COP27 meeting to consider listing this chemical in Annex A of the Convention, with specific exemptions for the production and use of pentachlorophenol for utility poles and cross arms, as agreed by the committee during that meeting in Rome. The committee also recommends that if listed with specific exemptions, that each party that has registered for those exemptions should take necessary measures to ensure that utility poles and cross arms containing pentachlorophenol can be easily identified by labeling or other means throughout their life cycle. Also, articles treated with pentachlorophenol should not be reused for purposes other than those exempted. Those were the main recommendations made by the committee for this chemical. For decabromo-diphenyl ether, the committee discussed and adopted the risk profile that was prepared for this chemical. It established an intersessional working group to prepare a draft risk management evaluation on decabromo-diphenyl ether and invited parties and observers to provide information as specified in Annex F to the Convention by the 5th of January 2015. A letter of invitation has already been sent out by the Secretariat to parties and observers requesting information to the preparation of the risk management evaluation for decabromo-diphenyl ether. On dicofol, the committee was satisfied with the proposal to list dicofol in Annex A, B, or C to the Convention after it met all the screening criteria as established in Annex E. An intersessional working group has been established to prepare a draft risk profile on dicofol, and the committee invited parties and observers to provide information for Annex E by the 5th of January 2015. A letter of invitation has already been sent to parties and observers requesting their contributions and information to prepare the risk profile on dicofol. In addition, an intersessional working group on short-chain chlorinated paraffins has been reconvened to start working to prepare a revised draft risk profile for consideration at the 11th meeting of the POPs Review Committee in 2015. There will be a number of recommendations for inclusion in Annexes A, B, and or C of the Stockholm Convention to be decided by the COP at its 7th meeting next year. Excuse me. Among them, we have chlorinated naphthalene and hexachlorobutadiene to be recommended for listing Annexes A and C, and pentachlorophenol and its salts and esters in Annex A. On PFOS, on the evaluation of PFOS, its salts, and PFOS-F pursuant to paragraphs 5 and 6 of Part 3 of Annex B to the Convention, the committee decided to submit the summary of the report on the assessment of alternatives to PFOS, its salts, and PFOS-F, together with the full report on the assessment, as well as a number of fact sheets that were developed on specific alternatives, and those documents will be discussed for consideration during the 7th meeting of the COP. The committee also provided comments on the Secretariat's report for the evaluation of information on PFOS, which was contained on document INF/10 of the meeting of the POPRC, and that will also be submitted to the Conference of the Parties next year. Further, the committee recommended that the Conference of the Parties encourages parties using the exemptions to take necessary measures to ensure that articles containing those chemicals can be easily identified by labeling or other means throughout their life cycle, which is a similar recommendation to that was made for PCP. On the guidance on alternatives to PFOS, its salts, and PFOS-F and the related chemicals, the committee decided to establish an international working group to prepare for consideration and adoption at POPRC10 a proposal for preparing a revision of the guidance on alternatives to PFOS that consolidates the information on alternatives to those chemicals. One of the objectives of this work is to eventually merge the different documents that have been prepared on PFOS throughout the last 2 years. The committee also invited parties and observers in a position to do so, to provide financial support to enable the Secretariat to engage a consultant to support the activities. It's also important to mention that one of the main points of discussion for PFOS was to put attention to the classification and class of each one of the alternatives that has been evaluated throughout this process. There were 2 additional items that are related to both meetings, the CRC10 and POPRC10. One of them is on the effective participation, for which the Secretariat was invited to continue its activities relating to supporting effective participation in the work of the committee, which is usually through these webinars or other technical assistance activities. On the item of coordination and collaboration with other scientific subsidiary bodies, the Joint International Working Group that has been working on this issue was requested to finalize the draft guidance and submit it to the Conference of the Parties at its 7th meeting in 2015. The Secretariat also was requested to report to COP7 on the benefits gained from any negative impact of the back-to-back meetings of the 2 committees and on the experience in the organization of the joint meeting. And with that, I complete my presentation. Thank you.